Bart here with Bart's Wood Shop. Today's build is something I've been wanting to build for a long time, and now that Independence Day is right around the corner, I decided it's a good time to break out of my shell and build this project. I want to make an American flag wall hanging, and what better time to do it than July 4th, Independence Day. So that's coming up soon. I figured I'd get it ready, and we'll build something cool. So I'm going to start out by laying out my lumber and doing some cuts, and then, you know, the whole process. So I shall see you at the saw, wherever the saw is. I'll see you there. Alright, here we are back at the miter saw. Now this board is wider than my saw can cut. It's only going to cut about that far into it. So I'm going to need to flip it and finish the cut. One of these days I'll upgrade my saw and get one of the nice ones with the rails that slides back and forth. Those are pretty neat. But so what I'm going to do right now is I've got my line drawn out of where I want it cut. We're going to line it up. And I'm going to cut just outside the line and leave myself just a little bit of extra space so that I could trim it in the end. So we're going to make our first cut. Okay, now that the blade has stopped moving, it's safe to move the wood. And what we're going to do is just flip it to finish our cut. Make sure we're flush against the stop here in the back. Let's get myself lined up. Now this is one of the reasons I left myself a little bit of extra, because what if this cut isn't 100% exactly perfect? What if it's a smidge off? So make our second cut. Alright, that's our first cut. Now, I'm going to need to do this 3 times, because my width, even twice, is just a little shy of what I needed. So that's okay. We'll have extras because I plan on making another one of these in the future. So I'm going to make the rest of my cuts and I'll be back. Okay, so the next order of business is we are going to cut these boards down. I just sent my fence for 1.5 inches. It's actually a smidge off. Let me make a quick adjustment. Down 1.5 inches. Now it's a little too much. One day I'll get a real table saw instead of some homemade stuff I got going on here. Okay, 1.5 inches. There we go. So now I'm going to rip my boards down to 1.5 inches. Set my blade height because I don't need it to be this tall sticking out of the blade. Lower that guy down where it's just coming out. And I'll start ripping them down. Sorry my saw is so loud. just going to continue ripping boards until I've got 13 stripes. We'll be back. Alright, I got all my pieces cut out. Next thing I need to do is make sure I got a good right angle to screw up all these, get these woods attached to. I just got 2 extra slats that I had cut, and my square here, and I'm literally just going to screw these things to the workbench. I tend to screw a lot of stuff to the workbench. What this is going to do is give me a good square to attach all these boards to for laying it out. So I got my right angle there. Line it up with my square on this one. Put another couple of screws. And I don't need a million screws to hold this thing square. Literally one on each end is good enough. Okay. Now I can remove my square. Set it aside. And now when I bring my 13 boards in, I will have a perfect square to get them lined up correctly. And that way, we'll know everything is good and square. So, next thing we're going to do is, now that I'm kind of laid out, I'm going to just run a little bit of sandpaper over these edges. I got a little frizzles happening here. So let me just sand them down. I'll be right back. Okay, so now I got everything sanded. I got everything sitting here in my jig. Kind of laid out the boards to where I thought they would look the best. This one's got a little nick in the corner. I'll flip it around and readjust everything. So now, for the flag that I'm making, first thing I need to do is mark out where the union is going to be. The union's where all the stars are going to be. For this size flag, I need it to be 10.5, which is the first 7 boards. And it's got to be 14 and 13/16 wide. I took my ruler, I made myself a little mark, and now I'm going to square that off. This side, actually. And we are going to everything's good and square, and I'm going to mark that line down the first 7 boards. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And that should give us an accurate spacing for our union. So we're going to have our flag, union, we're going to have our stars, we're going to have our stripes. This thing's going to be pretty neat. The next thing I'm going to need to do is start working on adding some color to this thing. Instead of just being all this stark white, what we're going to do is we're going to make it look a little rustic. And to do that, we're going to bring back my little friend, the propane torch. So what I'm going to do is just kind of lightly go over the surface of this board. Just kind of darken up the wood a little bit. Okay, so the battery died on my camera and I don't even know where I left off. But what I'm doing right now is I'm using the torch and I'm going to char each one of these boards, and we're going to get them to this nice rustic look on them. So once I get them all charred and whatnot, we will be back, and I'll show you what we're going to do next. Alright, I got all my boards charred, and I got them lined up to where I want them to be. Now my line here that I made for where my union's going to be through the first 7 stripes, what I'm going to do next is I want to score it with a razor knife. I want to have a good defined line, and I'll show you why in just a second. So let me get my straight edge on here. And I'm going to score just these first 7 boards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay. So now that I got a score line in them, I'm going to need to create a physical barrier between the blue and the red stripes. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to use these razor blades. And what we're going to do is we're going to stick them right down here into that score line I made. And that is going to create a wall between the blue and the red. And on the next one, it's going to make a wall between the blue and the white. So on and so forth. So we're going to use 7 razor blades. This is going through the first 7 boards. And we're just kind of jamming them in place. Alright, got my gloves on. I'm just going to use a little foam brush here to apply my stain right up to my razor blade stopper. And I'm going to start with the blue stain. Look at that, got blue stain right where I needed it. I didn't want it to go. Already. I might be flipping that board around. So I'm going to end up having to flip that board around because I made a mess. That's alright, no big deal. We work with things we got. First thing we got happening here. Now I didn't make a score mark for the top. I don't know that it's going to make that huge difference. Alright, now that I got all of my blue painted, or stained, excuse me, I removed every other board so that all my white ones are out of the picture and I don't accidentally get red stain on them. Because that's the next thing we're going to do, is apply the red stain for the red stripes. I left my little razor blade in place there, and that's going to give me my my barrier so that my stains don't bleed together. Get that red stain on there. Cool. So that's it. We're going to wait for stain to dry, and then we're going to start gluing this thing together. See you later. Alright, so the stain has had plenty of time to dry. Now I've got all my slats here. A lot of them have gotten warped, so that's going to be interesting to work with. We're going to have to lay them flat in order to glue them. So my next step is going to be, we're going to kind of separate them a little bit. And what we're going to do is glue all of the slats together, and then we're going to have to clamp them down. So, I'm just going to roll them all up on in. Except for that end one, because it's going to get glued too, not the other way around. So, here we go with the glue. Now, I want to use enough glue to keep them stuck together, but I'm not trying to get a ton of bleed out. So I'm just going to run a bead. The length of the boards. Okay, that's enough to get me started. Kind of use my handy dandy threading tool again. Okay, so I'm just going to keep gluing and stacking as I go along. Be back in a minute. Okay, I got glue on all of my boards. Now, my clamps, I only have 2 that are long enough to clamp the full length of this board. So what I'm going to do is use this piece on the top, and I'm going to get my big long clamp. And I'm going to use the 2 clamps and clamp them down in the middle. Boards are wanting to warp up on me here. So this is going to take some doing to get this sucker to lay flat. I'm going to get my other clamp on this side. The plan is to just kind of get them all to squeeze together evenly. Up against this thing here on the side. Make sure they're good and tight. Get a little glue squeeze out, which is fine. Okay. Now that I am satisfied that is good and tight, screw in it. Hold that down. And then I'm going to move my clamp over a little bit. Clamp her down over here. Bringing it all together. Put another screw in. tighten up this last clamp on this side. Okay, now that we've got the glue squeezes cleaned off, we're going to let this thing dry. We'll be back when it's all dry and set up. Alright, so while my glue is drying, I'm going to apply my stencil for the stars. My wife has one of those vinyl cutting machines, and she was able to cut this out for me to make my stars look just right. Basically some sticky vinyl, and hopefully I can get it on without ruining it. Sneak up under here, and as long as it doesn't touch itself, it's good. So it'll kind of slide a little bit on the wood. Okay, so my union is pretty much on. Go ahead and get this little bubble here out. There we go. Okay, so my plan B is, rather than draw them all out and try to eyeball them later, I'm going to leave the stencil on, and I've got my little rotary tool. I got one of these tiny little raspy bits on it. I don't know if you can see that or not. Just a tiny little round rasp ball at the end. And the plan is we're going to carve these stars. But when I'm carving the stars, I don't need to go real deep. I just need enough to get that blue stain off to where the star area shows up as white. So that's what we're going to do right now. Fire up my little Dremel. Adjust my speed down a little bit. Alrighty, 1 star down, 49 to go. We'll be back. Woo! Alright, all 50 stars are carved. 2 Dremel bits later. Turn it off a little bit. Time to reveal the stars. All stuck. The stars are looking pretty darn good to me. Hope they think they look good to you. And glue ought to be dry. It's time to move on to our next step, which is taking off all these clamps. Okay, now I got my little boards all cut. I got myself some deck screws, and I'm just going to screw these guys into place. I'm going to put a smidge of wood glue on the back of them. I'm not going to smear it in or nothing like that. I'm just going to kind of give it a quick little bead, just to give it that little extra bit of support. Alright, that is done. Let's flip her over. Alright, she looks pretty darn good. Now I'm going to put a little layer of polyurethane on this thing just to bring out a little bit of a shine to the wood and make these colors really pop. Alright everybody, the flag is complete. I'm real happy with the way it came out. I think it looked pretty good. You know, if you got any questions or comments, please feel free to leave some in the comments below. If you like what you saw today, hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel so you can see what I'm building next. So I just wanted to wish everybody a happy Independence Day, and I hope you really enjoyed this build. I enjoyed it myself. So we'll see you next time on the Wood Shop.